Welcome to this Monday morning edition of Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Ronnie Rance here with you alongside Tommy Krysian, who joins us from Port Allen at Court Street Cafe this morning. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, we're going to talk a little bit about obviously the LSU loss. It was disgusting. We'll give you our thoughts on that. The Saints win. Where did that come from? They put up almost 40 points without Winston, without Thomas, without Landry, with a banged up Olave at the end. I mean, impressive performance. We'll get into that. Also, Major League Baseball is set. We know who the four division best of five series are going to be. That starts tomorrow. And oh, by the way, in all of those series, there's an LSU baseball player. So we'll tell you about that. And we'll tell you about this shirt, as the Crystal Palace Eagles were a big winner yesterday in the Premier League over in soccer. My favorite team, not named Tigers Saints, by the way. Let's bring in Tommy over at Court Street Cafe. TK, let's start, go back to Saturday for a minute and start with the bad, and then we'll work our way into the good. LSU, I think both of us agreed that we liked the under. That did hit. The over-under was 65 or 64, depending on when you bought it. It hit easily on the under, so both of us were winners there. That was the only bet I actually made all weekend long. But this game was over, it seemed, the second that Besh dropped the opening kickoff and gave a short field to Tennessee.
Yeah, it really did, Ronnie. You know, we did Sports Shorts Radio after dark Saturday night right by the sports book in LeBear's, and I said that. I said at no point after that fumble and the quick touchdown and they threw the field goal on the board, when it was 10-0, from that point on, I had no earthly thought that LSU had a chance to win that game. Not that they were going to win, that they would even get a chance to win that game. And then, of course, all the problems that happened with special teams, the offensive line struggled to block, couldn't run the ball. Daniels, I don't know, and I got a big question for you in a minute, but that was embarrassing. And then, of course, after the game, Brian Kelly says, I got to coach better, we got to coach better. That's all you're ever going to hear there. He's not going to say we don't have talent in certain spots, or our special teams suck. There's things he's not going to say, and we all get that. But on the other hand, that was embarrassing. I mean, there was no shot for LSU to win that game once you got to late in the first quarter, and everybody knew it. And now here's the flip side. Is how good is Tennessee? You know, I mean, we're not real sure. They beat Mississippi State. We didn't know how good State was. Now they look like a pretty darn good team. Tennessee, you know, and I did get them at -2.5 because I thought they were the better team. But are they really the better team? Are they really 8th-ranked team in the country? That's the other thing. LSU fans, you were playing the 8th-ranked team in the country. But, you know, there's two sides to every story. And LSU was just terrible in so many ways, from coaching to execution to the game plan to the play calling. Ronnie, here's the burning question. Do you start Garrett Dustmeyer against Florida?
I'm going to answer it from a standpoint of what I think is going to happen, and that is no. I do not think that they're going to pull the ripcord and they're going to say go with Nussmeier. I think I think they're being on. I mean, look, behind the scenes, they're not going to say it publicly. Behind the scenes, they realize this is a bad offensive line. Inexperience, just not very good. Doesn't matter the reasons. It's not a very good offensive line. You need a very mobile quarterback. Clearly, Daniels has proven that he's not going to take unnecessary risk with the football, throwing it. We'd like him to probably take a few more risks as fans, but he's not. Therefore, he's going to tuck it and run. He's a better runner than Nussmeier. He takes care of the football better than Nussmeier. And I think at this point, they're hoping to grind out an ugly 17-16 type of win, and they feel like they got a better chance to do that with Daniels than they do with Nussmeier. Now, if Daniels gets banged up, or if all of a sudden they find themselves in a situation late in the second half down a bunch of scores, I wouldn't mind seeing Nussmeier given a chance to rip it and just let it go and get some reps. Remember, he's got 4 games to play before counts as a year. Although I guess he redshirted last year, so throw that out. Doesn't even matter. But the problem is, whenever you make that move, if you say to Daniels, "All right, you've lost your job," or even if you make it and say, "Well, we just want to see what he can do and give him some reps," I mean, in essence, you lost your job. You didn't get it done. You threaten to lose him the rest of the season, or you threaten to lose him in the transfer portal for next year. And I don't think LSU knows its future and what they've actually got yet. And I think they know that Daniel gives them the best chance to win right now, and they don't want to do anything to rule that out. Although I think the second half needs to be more Nussmeier. When you're in a situation like you were against Tennessee and you got no shot to win late, let him throw it around a little bit in the fourth quarter.
Well, yeah, and of course, the other thing is, I mean, it's tough to make that comment. I get it, and everybody wants to talk about the quarterback, and everybody thinks the backup's better. It's up to Brian Kelly, and I've been really posing the question. I'm not saying it should happen or not. It's going to be up to Brian Kelly, but I remember a point in the game when he threw the ball like in row 4, and there was a wide open guy underneath that he didn't see. And Kelly leaned over on the sidelines, had his head down and his hands on his knees. Almost in my mind, he's thinking, okay, this isn't the quarterback we need, or he's not the quarterback we thought he was going to be. Now, that's just my opinion. I could be 100% wrong, but the bottom line is, I mean, it was. I just don't think Daniels is Daniels. You got what you got, but I think you need a better quarterback to be ultimately successful and compete in the SEC West. Daniels was 18-11 at Arizona State in the Pac-12. That's good, but that's not great. So you don't have a great quarterback. You have a good quarterback. And as you said, Ronnie, the offensive line is a question mark.
I think the bigger issue is the offensive line more than the quarterback, to be honest with you. I think it's kind of a reactionary thing when you can't necessarily really run the football, and you don't have a lot of time to throw the football, and you're worried about these freshman tackles and everything else going on around you. He's already gun shy as it is. He's already not a very good read quarterback. Talking about Daniels, he doesn't go to the line of scrimmage and really have a great plan and get rid of it and make these quick decisions. He needs more time than, say, the average quarterback. It's just a bad mix right now. It's just a bad formula. Stephen Miller pointed out, if he didn't see action when it was 37-7 Saturday in the second half, then they're definitely not going to start him this week. And I sort of agree with that. If they weren't frustrated enough when you saw him bend over, BK on his, with his hands on his knees, or that the score didn't indicate an opportunity for them to play. And then, you throw in Will Campbell, the left tackle, sickness, true freshman, not playing. I mean, if you didn't load up on the under once you saw Will Campbell was not going to play at left tackle, then you're not paying attention, because you knew then it was going to be even more of a struggle bus for LSU to move the football. This is not going to be – we're not going to be talking about LSU, Tommy, like we are the Saints, where they turned it around offensively and all of a sudden, figured out something. They are who they are. This offensive line is going to be tough all season long. They're not really super creative on offense, whether it's because of the offensive line or because of just how they call the plays. I continue to not understand how you don't find out who your 3 best wide receivers are and funnel them the football. Force the football. Get creative in ways to get them the football. Instead, this offense looks exactly the same as it did in week 1, as it does now. And that said, Tommy, where is LSU? You tell me this. Where is LSU going to get the one SEC win they need to be bowl eligible and at least go 6-6? Where's that win going to come from?
Well, it may have to be against Florida. Florida's only a 2.5 point favorite in the Swamp. And, Billy Napier's down there after all the success with the Raging Cajuns. And, they're not the Florida Gators they used to be. The Swamp's not the Swamp it used to be. 6 o'clock kick, maybe they can, just regroup and get in there and have a chance. But they're not beating Alabama. They're not beating Arkansas. They're not beating Ole Miss. And, A&M probably a reasonable question. But we got a long way to see what A&M's doing by the time they get to that game.
They've got 5 more SEC games. They're going to be an underdog in all 5 SEC games that they play. They're going to be an underdog and have no chance at home against Ole Miss and Alabama. And then they go on the road to Arkansas, A&M, and Florida, where they're not going to be favored in any of those games. I mean, the only chance they have of being favored is the A&M game. If A&M loses the rest of its league games and LSU beats Florida and all of a sudden the bookies say, well, the history of this series favors LSU, maybe they're a 1-point favorite. But I don't think that's even going to be the case. They're going to be an underdog in all 5 games that they play, and they've got to win 1 to be bowl eligible, and they got to win 2 to at least get to 7 wins to cover all those damn people like myself that took the over-under 6.5 win total on the season. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I need to call my bookie and say, look, can I settle now for half and see if he'll do me a solid?
Well, I mean, maybe the wise guys are the wise guys for a reason when they put these over and under totals out, and we all know the story how many times the point spread is right on it. But hey, hopefully, I mean, Brian Kelly's going to speak to the media a few hours from now. I'm going to be checking it out, and then hopefully they can get some things accomplished and go into the swamp and beat Florida. That's what you got to hope for.
But I like my boy Chance. He is feeling positive Monday for Chance Babin. He said, "How good is that Mississippi State win looking now?" And it's true. I mean, Mississippi State's looked good outside of that second half against LSU. But he also goes on to say Arkansas and Texas A&M are very beatable, and Ole Miss. All right, Chance, on your positive Monday, slow your roll a little bit. Look, I mean, Arkansas and Texas A&M are on the road are going to be tough games for LSU, even if they were clicking on all cylinders. The fact that they're not, and I don't think anything's going to change. They had a players-only meeting, Tommy, and nothing happened. Not one positive thing happened after this players-only meet. The special teams did the same thing it's been doing, just buffoonery all over the place, whether it's dropping balls, not covering kicks. I mean, it's just brutal.
I mean, it's easy to call plays from the sofa and to criticize, okay? But like on that fourth down, the time when Booty tried to reach the ball to the yard to gain, and it's very debatable whether he got it. I can see it both ways. But when it's 4th and 4, whatever it was then, you got to throw the ball past the chain, okay? And, I mean, that's what NFL quarterbacks do. On 3rd and 4th down, they don't throw a ball underneath the yard to gain. Now, again, Jaden Daniels is dropping back. I've never dropped back in Tiger Stadium and tried to execute a play. But that's just a mental thing that you shouldn't do. And at his age and his experience in college football, he should know better than that. Or, as Brian Kelly, he should be coached better than that. Maybe what Brian Kelly said, coaching, special teams have been atrocious. They got a special teams coach who's supposed to be like a guru for special teams, and they just continue to be a problem. I mean, it's like somebody told me this last night. It's like high school special teams. It seems there's more breakdowns than not in high school special teams. And they don't have the talent level and the depth of a roster, and they probably don't work. Some teams don't work on special teams as much as they should. But LSU, I mean, they got a lot to fix. Oh, by the way, they're in second place in the SEC West. So, and then one other thing I want to throw in, and we'll move along. This is a rebuilding year with a new coach and a new staff and a big roster turnover. Part of that is why we're seeing what we're seeing too.
By the way, did you see? Let me get to this, and we'll move to the NFL real quick. One last comment. What did you say about the roster change, Tommy?
Well, there's just so many new players,
right.
And they're still trying to mold all that together.
I mean, you had 30 players at the end of last year, and you're still trying.
So now on the practice field, there's 65 new guys.
Right. That said, this, everybody's getting, the second in the West thing and the win against Mississippi State. Like, open your eyes. Auburn is terrible. LSU shouldn't have beat Auburn. It took a miracle. We weren't even there was different classes against Tennessee. The other thing is Polian's getting beat up on special teams. But you know what? Polian doesn't catch punts, doesn't catch kickoffs. You know what I mean? Like, they put Besh back there because he's the best hands on the team. And what does he do? Lets one go right off his chest. Like that's not okay. Like, that should never happen. That, in the first game of the year, the punt return guy muffs 2 punts. Like, that's not any special teams coach's mistake. They had the jugs gun. They shot 1 million balls at these guys. They caught 1 million balls. They had 90 guys on the team, and they said, okay, 8 and 80 are the 2 guys that can catch the ball the best. And then they're not. I mean, I blame special teams coaching for coverage. When you allow a big return, I blame them for the blocked field goals, an extra point in the dome in week 1 when, you have one blocked and you didn't really make an adjustment, that you looked at the line, the way they were lined up, and they have done it differently ever since. So I blame that, but dropping kicks. I mean, heck, the Saints did that yesterday. It's just this team is snake bit. And, that's how it is, man. When things start to go downhill, losing's contagious. Making mistakes is contagious. And it is just brutal right now. Hey, look, they got a chance against Florida. They have a chance against Florida. Florida's the same team as us. Up one week, down next week, inconsistent quarterback play. And hey, this team has shown the moxie on the road coming back from 17 down at Auburn. So they have that in them to do. This is going to be probably, in my opinion, Tommy, outside of A&M imploding, and because their offense doesn't scare me, this is one of their best chances to. This is it. Probably this and A&M, in my opinion, best chance for them to win the game. Win a game in the SEC.
And I agree with you. And of course, we'll talk about it more this week on Sports Shorts Daily, and everybody's going to talk about it. So it'll be talked about plenty.
All right, let's move on to the NFL. Before we get to the Saints, the officiating was atrocious yesterday. How about the Tampa Bay Bucks? They should have, they get a roughing the passer on Tom Brady, and you could watch that play a million times. It would have forced the punt, and the Falcons would have probably won the game. Instead, they go down and they give Brady the ball. He goes down and score, wins the game. They literally tackled the quarterback. And they called roughing the passer. And if you watch the play, there was no roughing the passer. Brutal. I don't know what the hell is going on with the officiating.
Well, and then he lied after the game when he said he thought it was he aggressively threw him to the game. Right, he did. And if you watch the replay, Tom Brady's head, that's the big thing, right? Never touched the part of the player defensive body. It didn't pound on the ground. Didn't even hit the ground the way the tackle thing happened, Right. So he tackled him kind of like you're supposed to in the rules. Don't go high, don't go real low. Get him around the waist and get him to the ground. He's paid to get Tom Brady to the ground right there. That's why he's on the team. That's why they're paying him. And he did it like he was supposed to, and it was the worst call of the year in the NFL, and it significantly affected the outcome of the game. Okay, I'm sure you looked at the whole. Go ahead.
It was as egregious as the hands to the face, the phantom hands to the face that the Saints had in London last week that just flat out didn't happen. This at least happened. It was just a misjudgment by the official. But the thing is Tommy, again, it goes back to these things need to be able to be corrected. And if you're going to call that roughing the passer, then just put buttons on the quarterback. And if you touch their chest, they have
flag,
invitation light.
Put flags all over him. If you pull the flag off, he's down.
Yeah, it's just brutal. All right, let's talk Saints. Where'd that come from?
I was on Seattle on the money line. I talked. Trey Blossman was, and he's usually pretty good at NFL picks. So, and I don't know where it came from. I was a little bit, Seattle scored a lot of points like they did the week before, but the Saints, Taysom Hill show. The guy had unbelievable stats and numbers and special teams, offense. I'm surprised he didn't play defense. Maybe he will one day. I don't know. But, and you and I are both critical of the big contract he got. We know he's not a everyday playoff caliber quarterback in the NFL. So we'll have to just see. But that was a big win. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the Bengals coming to town next week. But, man, the Saints, that's like, wow, that's really good. Boy, you got it done.
The Taysom Hill, man, that was such an impressive game. Statistically, when you just look at the stats, well, he rushed for just over 100 yards, only threw for 22. He had 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 1 passing. But that doesn't even tell the whole story. He was big on special teams. He recovered a fumble. To me, he's the NFL Player of the Week. Now, I don't know if he's going to get it or not, because, again, somebody's going to have better stats and throw the ball for – but, he was so valuable. And I'm so glad that the Saints weren't stubborn enough to, not, just move him to tight end and move him to H-back, move him to special teams and not continue to use him as their switchblade quarterback. I am not in agreement that he should be the starting quarterback. I've had a lot of people say that on social media the last 24 hours. He should be the starter. He's 7-2 as a starter, blah, 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 blah. No, how they used him yesterday was perfect. I thought Carmichael called a great game, how he mixed the two of them in, Dalton and Hill. I thought he was creative, and even some of the play calling with Hill, even the stuff when he ran the ball, he was showing pass, faking pass, and running, keeping the defense, stretching them left and right. I thought it was the equivalent of a pitching coach calling a really good game, mixing it up really well and keeping the other team off balance. I thought the mix was fantastic.
Yeah, it was much improved over some previous stuff. And you're right, the way they used Hill, and obviously it was effective, and they got the win. Very hard to win an NFL game. So, now they get to play at home again against a good Bengals team, and it should be a big crowd with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and others coming in. So we'll see if the Saints can keep this up. The NFL's been up and down like it usually is, and the Saints been on that roller coaster, but now they're 2-3. We'll see what they can do.
Byron Painter makes a good comment. He says Tebow would still be playing if he were being used like Hill. And I blame Tim Tebow for that, because he was the one that was kind of stubborn about being a quarterback in the league and not being a tight end, not being a fullback and all that. But definitely if Tebow were to come around now, they would use him like Hill, and he'd have played 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah, we'll see. And, of course, Chance referring to Andy Dalton. And I think he is a better quarterback than Jameis Winston, based on what I've seen, the old eyeball test, and when you look at things. But, we'll see what Dennis Allen does. But, and I don't know the severity of the injury to Winston. Is he going to come back? Well, yeah, look, as everybody knows, the NFL has to put out injury reports starting on Wednesday. And, of course, the media in New Orleans who cover the Saints and are out there at the facility on Airline Highway at Metairie, they're going to let you know who missed practice and who didn't. So we'll have a half a clue.
TK, real quick, because I got to go. I know you do too. We'll be back on Wednesday morning. We'll talk a lot of Major League Baseball on Wednesday morning because it'll be the day after the first game. But still, right now, the matchups are Seattle at Houston, Cleveland at New York Yankees. That's going to – your American League champ's going to come out of that pool. Padres at Dodgers. That should be a great, great series. Phillies at Braves. That's in the National League. You changing anything on? Are you still Astros and Dodgers in the World Series?
100% still in Astros and Dodgers. And by the way, Thursday's Astros game, I saw tickets at decent seats for under $200 online.
Nice.
So if somebody's interested in jumping over there.
By the way, Bregman in the series for the Seattle, Houston. DJ LeMahieu in the series, Cleveland, New York. Obviously, Austin Nola, the catcher for the Padres in that series against the Dodgers, and Aaron Nola, who was spectacular in his outing, 6 2/3 shutout innings in the Phillies-Braves series. And, oh, by the way, Paul Bird over there doing some TV work for the Braves.
4 games tomorrow. Check it all out. They're kind of staggered a pretty good bit. Late one on the West Coast, early one. So it's divisional series, which are best of 5. Now, we had the best of 3 in the wild card, and there will be traveling here. Both teams will get to be home.
Let's go Crystal Palace. Tommy on the way out about Court Street Cafe.
Lunch special today, red beans and rice with a fried chicken breast, jambalaya tomorrow. They always got a lunch special. They got dinner special. The steak night on Saturday is really taking off here. And, of course, LSU, Florida, Saturday night. They'll have it on the screens here in the bar area where I'm sitting. Lots of specials. So check out Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. The best way to do it is connect on Facebook and Instagram. They'll keep you up to date, and you need to stop by. We've got a patio out front. The weather's very nice this morning. Had some people out there having breakfast. That's a great thing.
All right, for Tommy, I'm Ronnie. Have a great one. We'll see you back on Wednesday for more Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBear's Casino.
All right.